Welcome to the Friendzy.
Hello, my name is Melissa Carter.
And I'm Jenn Hobby.
And here's our promise to you. The Friendzy is here to change the conversation around age.
So you can celebrate all your years rather than lie about them.
Real stories connecting real women. I'm Melissa, and I once got a bug in my eye as I was flying down a hill on my bicycle, and one of the neighborhood kids had to help me extract it.
Oh,
It just flew right.
did
I
it
could
get
see
above
it.
the lid?
Yes, it got above the lid.
Oh,
So you
no.
had to have a bunch of people. It was a gnat. I think it was some gnat. And I remember it was a guy. It was some guy in my neighborhood. We were riding bikes and it was like 8-year-old surgery going on with my eye, but we got it out. But
Thank goodness
ooh,
you had a buddy.
I know because it freaks you out as an adult, but as a kid, that's the first time I had a bug in the eye. I like a full living thing underneath my lid. It freaked me out.
Creepy. The bug didn't live, did it?
No, the bug did not live.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm Jenn, and I was a very late bloomer in my teens, which applies to today's episode.
What age? What age?
I was 14.
Oh, honey.
I was the last one.
You were the
friends.
last one because
Oh, yeah.
Who was the first one?
My friend Kelly Thomas.
We all know, right? Ginger Gimmel.
Yeah.
Ginger Gimmel's the first one. And so when she says it's appropriate for today, coming up on today's episode, we are flipping the script and actually celebrating menopause. We're not lamenting about it.
Yes, you are going to get the real scoop, and you will hear about the beauty that comes from this time of life from an expert and author, Lorraine Miano. Lorraine will encourage those of us preparing for menopause and those in the thick of it with all kinds of tips and encouragement and things that you can apply to your daily life immediately so that you can be the best version of you yet.
It makes me, and now I wonder, like, who was the first one who had menopause in your group?
Right.
Who was the last? And instead of wanting to be toward the first, don't you, everybody kind of wants to be the last when it comes to this. Anyway, we'll talk about it. So first though, I want to ask, have you subscribed to the Friendzy podcast yet? Hard to say. Yes. Please do, because we want you to listen and leave a review. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to podcasts.
If you enjoy this episode of The Friendzy, please share it with a friend of yours. We would love for more women just like you to find out about our show. And Melissa, we are about to dive into the mysterious topic of menopause.
Like witches at a cauldron.
Yes. And we'll meet Lorraine here in just a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsors.
Kit Pajamas. Booah. Stylish.
Friendzy for a 10% discount.
That's right.
And
reading.com.
Don't have a stroke.
Stroke.
All right, Melissa Carter. Why is menopause so mysterious? There's just not enough discussion about it.
Yeah, and it's a shame. That's what we're starting, right? We're talking about it as if we're talking about our lunch, and that's how it should be talked about. It should not be something that you're ashamed of. I think that my first experience though with menopause was when my mother had menopause, and I laugh because I just remember this one scene where I was about to start my period. Okay. My mother was older than me. And she was going into menopause. She had menopause late. So she was like in her mid to late 50s when she started menopause.
Oh, wow. That is late. But she had you late.
She had me late.
In her 40s. So she was an older mom
and
when you were starting your period.
Correct. I had my son via IVF in my 40s. She had me naturally in her 40s, unexpectedly. And so there was a scene where I was cramping. And I was on the couch cramping because I started my period. Sorry, Jen, at 12. And
you were one of the first ones in the class.
And she was in the kitchen jumping around, celebrating the fact that she didn't have cramps anymore. She's giving me crap. And Billy Pete rarely did that, but she was making me laugh. And so I was laughing as she was dancing in the kitchen because she had menopause. So that's one of my first experiences. And then my second experience was when I was looking for a house as an older woman, And I had heard the term hot flashes, but I didn't think anything about it because I'm young. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this one home that the homeowner was going to show me her home. And she opened the door and she looked like she just came out of the shower, but she was fully clothed. And she looked at me point blank and said, "I just had a hot flash. Forgive me. Would you like to still see the house?" And I laughed. I said, "Of course." I said, "I'm a woman. I
Yeah.
get it." But I thought I didn't realize that
It
that's
would
what a hot flash
it
was.
would drench you
That it
like
would
that.
drench you. Yes.
Yes. I can remember my mom and my aunt talking about it when they went through menopause, but it was, a conversation that I was eavesdropping on. It
Mhm.
wasn't something I was included in,
Yeah.
and my mom, maybe it's of her generation, was just more private about it. She called pads and tampons equipment, you know.
Really.
I need to get some
Your
equipment.
mom's kinda hippie, though. I'm
But
surprised.
yeah, but I
That's
will
interesting.
still seem a little more, like, discreet maybe than I need to be about it because of that influence from my mom, but menopause was not something that I understood then when I first heard about it. It's not something I understand now, and I could be going into it
I'm
soon.
saying yes, you think
So
you're
this
perimenopausal, right?
Well, I'm
Or
not sure because I don't know anything about this, which is so crazy. It's like, how are we women and we don't know what's coming ahead of us,
right.
Our mothers, I think, do a great job of explaining to us when our periods are coming and what that's for and all that stuff. But I don't think we've done a great job explaining to the next generation what menopause is all about. So to me, it's so mysterious and what is it and what's it going to feel like and is it going to happen? And I
Mhm.
mentioned to a friend of mine the other day that my cycles are getting very irregular, where I'm getting caught off guard like a teenager without the right equipment in my purse
Mhm.
or without the right clothing, like wearing white shorts or whatever,
Right.
and going, "Oh my gosh, this is not supposed to be happening now." So my cycles are very off track. So I was mentioning that to a friend of mine, and she said, "You might be perimenopausal."
And that's something to talk to your doctor about because I think every woman's different because I've heard women who talk about their periods space apart. They start skipping them and then it comes back. I've heard women who have these massive heavy flows right before they go into it. So I think that there is much like
Mhm.
everything else, you can't Google the symptoms and it apply to you, right?
Right.
That you have to talk to your doctor about it. I mean, maybe who knows? I don't know. Jen,
Yeah.
how old are you again? 44,
I'm
right?
44. Yeah. And this is also
Which seems young
it
to
seems
me, but
young.
I don't
Okay.
know,
Right.
but I'm not an expert on it either.
Yeah, it just feels like there are some things and then my sleep has been disrupted too. So, a lot of times in the middle of the night, I'm waking up, not for very long, but I'm awake for
Mm,
about, 10 or 20 minutes and then I love my sleep. So, I just
mhm.
try to block out all the light and all the thoughts and just go right back into dreamland. But my sleep is disrupted often. And that was another thing I thought, wait, does this have to do with this time of life? Or is it other things, could it be
Right.
stress levels and that sort of thing, because you can start writing off these symptoms as belonging to other things, which you did, right?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I've mentioned on the show before that, I've had things like hair loss, things like acne. I never would have associated with menopause, but I am definitely in the flow of my levels going down, and I'm not full menopausal yet, but I guess perimenopausal. Because that's
Mhm.
a new term. I didn't know there was a ramp, like
Yeah.
an on ramp and an off ramp to menopause.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, like you said, about mothers needing to talk to their daughters about these things as older. Like, there's no reason that your mom shouldn't be giving you advice about
And
menopause older because your mother's symptoms, I assume, would likely be your symptoms since if you are biologically related, I would think that they would be similar. But I have no idea. And
but
unfortunately, my mother's no longer here to tell me what her symptoms were. I mean, I did not have the opportunity to ask my mother how she knew before the doctor verified it.
And it's like, I don't know if it's been a secret because it's about being discreet and, oh, we don't talk about bodily functions, or is it because there was some shame around menopause? There was some sort of,
Mhm.
I don't want to admit that I'm in menopause because that means I'm getting older, or I don't want to talk about it because I have to admit to myself my age. And
I
Truly,
think
that
that has a
is
lot to do with it.
right. That is the
Yeah.
point of the frenzy, is that we should be celebrating this time
Yes.
of life. We are more confident. We are more self-assured. If you're menopausal, you don't have to have a period anymore. Like,
Right.
let's celebrate all of these things that are coming with this time of life rather than keeping it shrouded in secrecy
Yeah.
and in mystery, so that the next generation can embrace it and just say, this is what it is.
Well,
It is what it
yeah.
is.
Well, I mean, your period, I mean, we just over the past couple generations got that to be full conversation without shame, right? Because there used to be shame
Yes.
with having your period. And now we need to move it forward and not have shame with menopause. I absolutely agree with you because I do think that has a lot to do with it. I think the fact that your vagina is something that people are uncomfortable hearing or talking about, where,
Yeah.
you could talk about a penis all day and people find power in penises, but they should find power in vaginas. And what a
Yes.
vagina is going through is something that should be talked openly about. I absolutely agree with you, that this is
Half
something
the
that,
population on the planet has a period. Half the population on the planet goes through menopause.
yeah,
Why is it a secret? That doesn't
exactly.
make any sense.
Well, and
So,
and you talk about your cycles. So I had a hysterectomy, not a full hysterectomy. I had my uterus taken out because of fibroids right before my son was born. And so I have cycles because I have my ovaries, but I don't bleed because I don't have the uterus to flush everything out. So
mhm.
basically, the egg just dissolves in my abdomen on its own. So I don't have that clue. So I was thinking about if somebody was listening and thought, "Well,
Yeah.
Melissa, what about your periods?" Well, I haven't had a period in 6 years. So, and you talk about, I mean, I haven't missed it once.
No,
But
no.
I haven't had that clue on whether I was menopausal or not. So like I said, these odd symptoms I was having, I did not associate with that because I didn't have my period to compare it to.
Right. And a lot of women have different types of birth control that will stop you from having a period. So you wouldn't have that as well. Like,
Mhm.
I had an IUD right after my second child was born. And it just didn't work for me. It didn't work well with my body. So I had to have it taken out. But a lot of my friends who have IUDs, they don't have cycles. So
Mhm.
they wouldn't have those same symptoms. Or
And
I know
when I was
sometimes,
on dialysis, I didn't have a
yeah.
cycle for 9 months because when you're underweight and your body's going through, it's like a triage. If you're going through some illness, sometimes your body's like, "I don't have the energy to handle the period and lose the blood, so I need to move on to something else." And so, if you have a physical condition that keeps you from having a period, again,
Mhm.
your bleeding is not the only, symptom that you can read in order to know if you're having menopause or not.
Right. And this is why it's so important to share your story with your close friends and
Mhm.
talk about it. Maybe
Yes.
share this episode of The Frenzy with a friend of yours to open up that conversation. Like, hey, Jen and Melissa are talking about menopause. Like, let's talk about it too in our little group,
Yes.
or let's talk about it at dinner because I'm going through some things that, help us bridge that gap and start those conversations, because it's just so important to share your story, especially with your girlfriends. And when we open up about menopause, then it's no big deal.
And you're not alone. You're not alone,
Right.
and you understand you're not alone. So today's spectacular guest has to do with menopause. She's a menopause expert and author, Lorraine Miano. She is an integrative holistic health coach who is passionate about working with women on menopause.
And Lorraine's book, The Magic of Menopause: How to Get Your Happy Back, is a really fun read. She's a great storyteller. It's full of helpful tips for nutrition, for hormones, for lifestyle habits that all come together and help you live your best life. You are going to soak up Lorraine's bright energy and her knowledge like a sponge. So, without further ado, ladies, please help us welcome Lorraine Miano to the Frenzy.
Hello, ladies. I am so
Yay!
happy to be here finally.
We
This is
are so
yeah.
excited.
This is going to be an important interview because menopause is something that is either an obstacle in people's lives. I mean, Lorraine, you can talk about how it shouldn't be. And
Mhm.
then for other women who have not reached that point yet, it's something that they dread or completely ignorant to and think that's a bad word. So,
Right.
we both read your book, and one of the things that I loved
Yay.
in The Magic of Menopause is the fact that you transform people's perception of menopause. And I was hoping that you could start by talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, there are so many myths and misconceptions about it. And women, unfortunately, in Western culture, we're like, um, believe that it's the end of our life, right? It's like the end of our sex life, of our life as we know it, that things will be horrible, things are going to be totally awful, hot flashes, low libido, all of these ideas where it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. So we really have to flip the switch on how women think about aging. These can absolutely be the best years of our lives. I'm 63 years old. I'm postmenopausal. I am living my best life now. I'm passionate about what I do. And I know that women can really benefit from just flipping that switch because oftentimes our perception will determine our experience with menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorraine, I was interested in your personal journey that led you to becoming an integrative certified health coach because it started with you internally, right?
Yes. Well, first to become a health coach, I we had several health issues in the family.
Mm.
My husband had cancer. He's now a survivor. My girls struggled with celiac disease, and one had osteopenia, the other one had severe anemia. And those things kind of led me on a health journey. And then to become a health coach, I figured I really wanted to help women everywhere. I felt like I was a perimenopausal woman when I was dealing with all of that with my daughters and my husband. And hormones were fluctuating, things were not good, anxiety was on the rise. And then during that journey, I lost a very close friend. So she died of pancreatic cancer. And at that time, my hormones were totally out of whack. And that was the first time I ever experienced a panic attack and anxiety. I thought I was having a heart attack. I told my husband, you need to take me to the hospital. I'm having a heart attack. But then I realized thoughts were swirling, different things were happening in my head that I couldn't control. And I knew that that was probably one of the symptoms of my hormone imbalance at the time, just dealing with grief and not understanding what was happening to myself. So as I was studying to become a health coach, I realized that the women that I was attracting to me were in that phase of their life without even realizing it. So they were coming to me because of weight gain, anxiety, fatigue, insomnia, not realizing that those were the symptoms of perimenopause. And quite frequently, anxiety is the very first symptom of it. And women don't realize that.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I am perimenopausal. I entered this into the pandemic, and I told Lorraine this off air, and I've told Jenn this off air. I didn't know my symptoms had anything to do with my hormones, and it was hair loss, and then I got acne on my back. That was like a teenager, but it was on my back, and I've never had acne issues even as a teenager. And then when I had the first hot flash, it was not a dramatic hot flash. It was just like a shot off the bow kind of hot flash.
Yeah.
And that's because that's the only thing we're told, right? Is the hot flash. So
Right.
that's when I was like, oh, wait a second, let me get this checked. And
Right.
so, like from Jenn's point of view, Jenn is in her mid 40s, and when I was in my mid 40s, I had no idea. When I was 50, I had no idea what was happening to me. So I think that that's why this is an important conversation, because you talk about it, Lorraine, in your book as if it's just another puberty, because that's exactly what's happening.
It
You are
is.
going through another puberty.
Right. It's just a phase of life. And this is not, women tend to look at it as a disease. And sometimes doctors even give you the impression that it's a disease. It's not something to be cured. 100% of women who live long enough will experience menopause in one way or another. And I'd love to educate them on the ways to do that, even from an early age. So I encourage women to talk to their daughters about it too, because it's often our lifestyle habits that can contribute to the symptoms we're having. So if you have eaten processed food your entire life, chances are you're going to have a pretty crappy menopause. If you've taken the time to do some moderate exercise, eat in a healthy way, and really take care of your body, chances are you won't have as many symptoms. Not to say they won't be there. You just may not experience, like, there are women who really, they're debilitating. And I know quite often they go on anti-anxiety drugs. And for those women that really can't handle the fluctuations, hormone therapy. And although I'm a holistic health coach, I'm not against hormone replacement therapy. I just prefer to help women who choose not to go that route, maybe because of cancers in the family or themselves, or for side effects. Some women do have side effects from them. So I choose to just guide those women. But even for women who are on HRT, the benefits of a holistic lifestyle will give them so many more a better lifestyle, better health throughout the rest of their life. So if you're just doing HRT, that's not just going to fix everything. If you're still eating a lot of sugars, a lot of
Right.
processed food, drinking a lot of alcohol, caffeine, those kind of things. So really taking a holistic approach could help.
Well, and I just want to jump in here to explain for those who don't understand what you mean about cancers and everything. So I went to my doctor and they gave me such a slight measurement of hormone therapy because of my kidney transplant. My
Mm-hmm.
immunosuppression makes me susceptible to cancer. And they have found with hormone replacement that can make you susceptible to cancer. And if you've
Yes.
had cancer, they won't let you take hormone replacement therapy. And for me, it's just, she's like, I'm going to help you take the edge off,
Right.
but back to Lorraine's point though, like the reason that I think the magic of menopause, her book is so important is because of that holistic lifestyle that you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it's like, okay, already had symptoms, which means that there are lifestyle practices that I need to change.
Yes.
And so I got the edge taken off with my patches. I got a patch.
Yeah.
And then, I can, based on your book and inspired by your book, I bought a blender, going to start trying to be a lot more holistic in that
Good.
so that I edge off those symptoms moving forward.
Okay. Women don't realize that just taking baby steps, just like including more plants in your diet and doing things like that can be so beneficial. And really just paying attention to just eliminating all those crappy things that could contribute to a hormone imbalance.
Hmm.
Lorraine, what would be the first thing you would eliminate from someone's diet if, they're my age, mid 40s, approaching menopause, or in the midst of it? What's the first thing you can do, real specific, to eliminate from your diet that will help you feel better?
Okay, processed foods. And when I say
Okay.
processed foods, I mean things in boxes, pasta, breads, cereals, those kind of things. Stay around the perimeter of the food store and really just eat whole foods. And sometimes that could take a while. And what I like to tell women, you can do it in baby steps. We call it crowding out, where instead of eliminating something right away, you will just add in. So if you add in your greens and things like that, and then little by little, you'll crave the other things less.
Hmm. Lorraine, it's funny how when you talk about holistic, I mean, it's really going back to what naturally your body is wanting, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you, as a human being, were built to eat more, natural things and not to eat the processed things. And because of our busy lifestyles, we've gotten to the point where we sit in a chair all day and then we grab
Hmm.
something quick out of a box, out of the pantry as a snack or to eat. I have seen in my life with my friends and my family members who have illnesses that just taking a holistic approach, eating better, getting exercise, that it takes care or helps all illnesses, all things
Yeah.
that are going on with you. And I don't know why we wouldn't think that it would also help with menopause.
Yeah, and especially for women in their perimenopausal and menopausal years, sometimes even extreme exercise is not good because it raises cortisol levels. And so that messes with your hormones. For perimenopausal and postmenopausal women, moderate exercise is probably the best, but exercise is needed. Like you said, you can't be sitting all day and then not do anything. Even if it's a 20-minute walk or a Pilates class or a yoga class, and there's so many things online that you can do that are free. So just taking a little time for yourself, put yourself on your calendar and really take the time to make movement part of your day.
Mm-hmm.
Lorraine, one thing I found so interesting in the magic of menopause is that different cultures treat menopause differently.
Yeah.
And that's hard to remember because, we're in the US, we're being raised by American women, and we're watching their experience of menopause. And like you said, it's always been positioned as something to dread.
Yes.
And in other cultures, it's not. When I read that, I was like, what? It's not?
No.
Please tell me
No.
more about that.
Yeah. So, like in India and Japan, the older women are held in high regard. They're given specific jobs, like maybe caring for grandchildren or different things like that. But they're led to believe this is a new phase of their life. It's a new beginning, and they are basically not worshipped, but they basically
Amen. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes, sounds so nice,
That's
doesn't
what
it?
the Friendzy is
Well,
here for.
Yes, it's
But maybe, yeah.
you have we have just. I think you're inspiring an idea for Jen and I. We're going to have some event in which we were calling it the white pant party in our brainstorming session, since you don't have to worry about wearing
Yes.
white pants anymore. But I mean, you're right. I mean, not to interrupt, but just yes,
Yeah.
you should be awarded for achieving a level in your life, and you're going through the physical changes, so you need
Yes.
that support instead of
Yeah.
judgment.
Mhm.
And specifically, like in Japan, they really don't experience anything other than shoulder pain, maybe during menopause. And in India, I think it's just their menses are irregular. So because that's why I believe perception is such a big part of it. Because if you keep having a negative mindset, obviously negative things happen, right? Or you really
Yeah.
have that perception. So just change that. Just realize these can be the very best years of your life. There's so many
What would
things you
you
can do.
say? What would you say has been the best part for you?
Well, I mean, I feel good. That's number one. And I said, I want to live a long, healthy life because I have 6 grandchildren. And the fact that I can have energy, do things with them. I mean, my husband and I will watch the three little toddlers for a week and still be okay. So I
Amazing.
mean, yeah. So just really enjoying family, making time for everyone, and by myself being able to be healthy, have energy, and really be positive about everything. I feel like that's such an important step.
I think that's the key right there when you say be positive about everything, because we indulge in so many, things that were to try to make us feel better. But I
Yeah.
don't think our habits are changing in where we, in our own life, in our own world, like me before this interview, sitting in the tire place and not getting frustrated, just being enjoying the experience of being at the tire place.
Right.
It's just, we have to do that incrementally in our lives to be happy. But also, I think in the culture of the United States, to Jen's point, there is this idea that women are either, it's a virgin whore thing, right? But it all stems around sex. So the idea, I think, for a lot of people and for women and their self-perception is, I'm not sexy anymore after I have menopause.
Right.
If I'm not able to have children anymore, then that means that I'm not viable in this world. And so talk a little bit about that. Like, yes, you still
Yeah.
have sex. I mean, not to get into
Oh
your
my
business,
gosh.
but you
Yeah.
still have sex after
Yes, I
menopause.
do. Children, cover your ears. But yes, and I am very open about talking about vaginas. I will do it anywhere and everywhere. I don't know if you read my blog post about it, but I sat at a table with 12 people in Aruba under the stars and said, you know what I just talked about? Vaginas. Head snapped, and a conversation opened up between all the couples, and they were asking me for recommendations, all kinds of stuff at the end of it. So I think just having that conversation and opening up about it is so important. But I know that women think that sex ends, and because hormones fluctuate, and low libido can be a symptom of it when there's low testosterone. So for some women, they may want to get testosterone cream or something like that from their gynecologist. But I mean, I've never done that because I chose not to because of side effects from it. So I just choose to, I use lubrication, which is so important for women. And I think low libido sometimes can come because of painful sex. So, our brain is our largest sex organ. So
Right.
if you're anticipating that it's going to be painful, obviously you're not going to want to have sex. And an important part about that is women will moisturize every other part of their body, but they don't moisturize their vagina and vulva.
That's
That needs
true.
to be done daily, other than lubrication. So a good cream or a safe cream. I'm all about non-toxins, non-hormone disrupting products, which I write about all the time. So finding something good for yourself and moisturize down there from an
Never
early
thought of
age.
that.
Yes.
Really?
Daily.
Okay. So
Never
like
thought of that.
if you shave your legs and you put on lotion, you should keep going up.
Well, not with the same lotion necessarily.
Not the same lotion.
Not the same
Okay.
lotion. You want to use something that's specifically for your vagina. So there are so many
Awesome.
companies.
I didn't even know that there was cream
Oh
for
my
your
gosh.
vagina.
On my website, I have. On my
I'm
website,
sorry,
I do have
vagina.
it.
I've been neglecting you.
Sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah, there's it's what is fantastic is the conversation has opened up in the last few years about menopause. So many companies are stepping up to the plate, and a lot of them are women-run companies. They know what we need. They know what has to be out there on the market for us. So I have found, and I curate a lot of them because I want women to pick the good things that don't have the bad stuff in them. So I actually on my website have a menopause market where I list the things that I recommend and personally use probably most of them.
Oh, that's
And we're going to
fantastic.
link to Lorraine's
Yeah.
website as well. It's the magicofmenopause.com, right?
Yes, yes.
Magicofmenopause.com. And we can also link in the email newsletter over to some of these products, which is where I'm going to go Google and bookmark it right now.
Well,
Spend some money on these things today because
Yeah.
how is it that I'm 44 and Melissa's 51 and we've never heard of lotion that we need to be moisturizing our vaginas with?
And I'm a lesbian. How do I not know this?
But you know what? Sometimes the women, right? Sometimes we go to our doctors and our doctors aren't even educating us because so many of them are not educated in menopause, unfortunately. I think that may be changing. So I suggest women, when you do seek out a doctor, look for one who is a menopause specialist who maybe have gotten training, and they can go to, I think it's NAMS.org, the National Association of Menopause. I can't think exactly what it is, but they will have a list of doctors who have gone through their program who are more qualified to help you with menopause. Because a lot of women are dismissed at the doctor's office. This is normal. Deal with it.
I will say I changed doctors when I became perimenopausal. So I got with someone who specializes in this for that reason, because I I didn't understand what was happening to my body, like we mentioned. And that's another thing, menopause or not, your body changes as you get older just because of age, right? So and we're taught as women to think that's a bad thing and to do everything we can to keep it from happening, which is not, you can't do that. You are aging. And so I think that, we're taught that our bodies should be, again, sexy and skinny and beautiful and always like an ornament, where with menopause, like that was the probably the biggest shock for me. Was it wasn't necessarily that menopause is a bad word, but it was just I didn't recognize my body for about 6 months. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand what it was doing. And so and it was during the pandemic. So I was dismissing it to stress. And so it's a good thing for these conversations to happen so that women aren't angry at their bodies or feeling unattractive because of the changes that are happening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many things that we can do to help ourselves. And really, I like to tell women, you want to have a long and healthy lifespan, not disease span. So taking the steps now to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's never too late. I tell them, women will say, but I'm dealing with this, and this, and the weight gain and whatever. It is never too late to take those baby steps to really just make things happen. If you change nothing, nothing changes. So you really need to take those steps now. And I totally encourage women to please talk to your daughters in their 20s, because so many of them are experiencing early menopause because of different hormone problems. And I think if they really pay attention from an early age, their later years will be fantastic.
I had a friend who in her late 30s got the news that she would be entering menopause soon, and she wept because it was like she was given devastating news. So it shows you how our perception here in America is just terrible.
Well, and so many women who have hysterectomies after childbirth, they have difficult childbirth or they've had twins or whatever it might be. After hysterectomies, they go through a menopause early in life too. So talk about that. If someone is younger facing menopause, what could they do differently?
Well, it depends on if they have a total hysterectomy. Sometimes they will leave your ovaries, so it depends. And if you have your ovaries, you will still have cycles. You won't bleed, but you will still have your hormones. If they have a complete hysterectomy, then they will sometimes go into immediate menopause, and that sometimes can be really devastating because the symptoms can come on them immediately. So in that regard, I would say to take the steps to really research and find out different supplements that they could use. If they want to do HRT, that's between them and their doctor. They can decide on that. But there are so many wonderful supplements, lifestyle changes, so that they don't have to really deal with everything that comes from that. And also, I would highly suggest if they need counseling, because at a young age, that can be a devastating thing, right? You think that your sex life is over, you're not having children anymore, all these things happen. So I totally really encourage women to go for counseling in that regard.
Well, there's so many expectations brought upon us. Jen and I talk about this all the time. And so it's like, the expectation of having children, not all women should want, have children. And it's that devastation if you can't even women who never intended to have children somehow end up being depressed over the fact they don't have the choice anymore. So,
Right.
the other things I highly encourage people to read your book, The Magic of Menopause, which again, we'll have a link in our newsletter and on YouTube, because it just from what Jen asked earlier about the perception in other countries. Like, I think it starts up here with everything.
Yes.
And then you make the choices in your life on how you're going to change your view of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is really so important. I think more than anything, probably during the menopausal years, is to have a positive mindset, no matter what you're doing. I mean, you can have a really crappy day, you can have crappy symptoms. If you could just find one good thing there and flip the switch, there's so many benefits to that. I encourage women to do meditation and mindfulness, gratitude journaling, all those things, that breathing exercises, all of those things that get you centered and really concentrating on your body and on your mind.
And I think being present too. I'm perimenopausal, raising a 6-year-old son, and I find that if I I can now that I know what's happening, I can determine whether the fussiness that comes from me is warranted, or if it's just that my nerves are, my patience is not as long as it usually is, but it's good to know. If you know what's happening to you, then the reaction to it is not necessarily negative.
Yeah, and you made a good point. You're raising a child, and many women that are in their perimenopausal years are still raising children and possibly caring for older parents. So there's that stress level on top of it. And quite often, women who are perimenopausal have daughters who are going through puberty. So there's a lot of hormone stuff going on in the house.
It's a combo right there.
Yeah.
But that's a good conversation to have at that time, to explain to your daughters exactly what is happening to you, to them, and what will happen later on in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Lorraine, I wanted to know about someone my age. So I'm 44, approaching menopause. Is there anything I should be doing in advance of it to lighten some of the symptoms that will eventually come up?
Yeah, a lot of the things that we talked about, if you could reduce processed stuff now, and if you're a caffeine addict, I would suggest maybe cutting back and switching to herbal teas. Caffeine can mess with hormones and can cause hot flashes. So if you are having different things, and of course, alcohol in the evenings is a big one, because that can lead to insomnia for a lot of women, and alcohol does lead to hormone imbalances.
Sorry, Jen.
Lorraine, you're taking away my coffee and my wine.
Well, I know women tell me that all the time. Well, what I like to tell them is, if you could do that for most of the week, have your glass of wine on the weekend, or if you are having a glass of wine, maybe earlier in the evening have one, but not too late, because it can mess with your circadian rhythm, and then sometimes it'll make you go to sleep too fast and you bypass your REM sleep, which is important for restorative health. So you want to just really pay attention to moderation, and maybe just on the weekends.
Sorry, Jen.
And there are, if you like coffee, there are organic decafs that are wonderful, that taste just the same as coffee. So
okay, that's good. That's a good replacement.
Yeah.
I think I could replace the caffeine, and then maybe wine o'clock is only 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Instead of 5 to 7 or 8.
Well, and I understand. I mean,
real talk, right? We have
Yes.
little kids.
Really.
It's like, it's a great stress
maybe just
reliever.
one.
I know.
It goes back to what you said, but you increase the exercise, you take away the processed food, your body won't crave it as much. And especially if you're getting sleep. The problem is, I didn't even mention the insomnia that I had during that, all that as well. I was up from 2 to 5 a.m. every morning, and I would just fart around on the phone and read or do something, because it was just, I was up and I was so frustrated. But I also understand that it's hard to process sugar anyway, but especially when you're entering menopause, isn't sugar processing difficult for your body?
I would say the two worst things for menopausal women are sugar and stress. So
Hmm.
reduce both, and
Yeah.
you'll probably have less symptoms and a better menopause.
See, that's the hard part for me, Jen, is the fact that, have had to cut down on so much dessert. I have a terrible sweet tooth, Lorraine, but I've done a good job of reducing it and continuing that struggle.
And do
So
you feel better after reducing your
absolutely, my body
sugar?
doesn't crave it as much
Right.
Wow.
anymore because I've increased the exercise and I've decreased the caffeine and I've tried to make adjustments on everything else, and
And
your
listen,
body does respond.
sugar is as addictive, if not more, than crack, they say.
Wow.
So
I've been an
you
addict.
really, but really, you can once you reduce it and eliminate it, you don't crave it as much at all.
Hmm.
So
And
it's
Well, you're
talk
craving it
about
because something else is
mhm.
deficient. So you're
Yes,
craving those sweets because you're not getting nutrition from other
right,
places. So
yeah.
Can you tell me about how long menopause lasts typically
Okay,
for women?
there's not a really good answer to that because it's different for every woman. So when perimenopause starts, it can last anywhere from 2 to 15 years, perimenopause. And you're not menopausal, which is really, menopause is really just one day. It's the 12-month anniversary of when your menses cease.
Oh,
So once you've reached that plateau, the very next day you're postmenopausal, and you will be for the rest of your life. So I've heard from women who experience no symptoms and all of a sudden their menses stopped. Other women, they'll be irregular for many years and then have that, wait that 12 months. The thing is, if you go even 6 months and get another cycle, you have to start over again. So it's
wow.
12 consecutive months and then you're considered menopausal.
I have a friend who, yes, she thought she was on the path, and then I think it was 3 months later. So hers is months. So she knows that she's approaching that,
Yeah,
but she was shocked that 3 months later, here it comes again. And in
yeah,
my case, I had a partial hysterectomy, so I don't know. I have to refer to the labs because
right,
because I have my ovaries, but I don't have my uterus. So that'll
right,
be that'll be interesting too
I
to
feel
see
like
how
we
long it
should
lasts.
be celebrating this time to not have a cycle anymore. It seems
right.
so freeing to me. I'm like, I have my two girls. I'm done having children, but I still got to have this cycle for however long. How annoying. I wish I could just
Right.
just fast forward and get there. I feel like we should be celebrating it. Why aren't we?
There are a lot of women that do.
Good.
And I actually may start a whole party about it because
Please.
yes, it is so important for women to really realize there are so many
I see a
positives.
collaboration going on here
Yes,
because I
yes,
again the
Yes.
white pant party thing. I
yes,
really think that that's a cool
Yes.
thing.
that is.
And if
Yes, it
everybody could
is.
bring all their period
Celebrate,
products and we could put them in a big
burn them.
basket. Yeah.
That's right.
Donate them, burn them, whatever, pass them on. You don't
Right,
have to fill underneath your sinks with them anymore or
right.
worry about having one in your bag.
We
Oh,
we should
so
write
annoying.
a book called "Thank You God, It's Me, Margaret. I'm done with my periods."
Yes.
Yes,
We should call
Thank
Judy
you.
Bloom and say, "Can you write a follow up to the the
right.
menopause version of Margaret on that one?"
Yes. Don't
Margaret
you
grows
know,
up.
Judy, Melissa?
I've
Aren't you
met
tight
her.
with
Yes, and
Judy Bloom?
now, I could call her on her cell phone. I'm sure she'd know exactly who I was before she called the police.
Well, Lorraine, where can we find out more about what you do?
Okay, themagicofmenopause.com, which you had said already. And on Instagram at the Magic of Menopause. On Facebook, it's Making Menopause Magical. And I even have a support group on there with fantastic women. And we do challenges every month and have a lot of fun. Ask questions. I do my health coach thing in there. So it's a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Now we do something before we let you go, okay? And Lorraine, every guest comes on. It's called the Friendzy 5. So it's a rapid fire questions. There's no pressure. It's about your life. So hopefully you know about that.
Okay, I hope so.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
Menopause brain.
All right. Where is your cozy happy place?
The beach.
Hmm. What's your favorite framed thing in the house?
A family. My grandchildren.
Oh, how many grandchildren do you have again?
6.
6.
Yeah.
Cute.
What's your most memorable birthday?
Oh my gosh. My 60th. My kids threw a wonderful party and they did a thing where they said, what do we love about Lorraine? And they sent it out to all of my friends and family, whatever, and they all sent these little postcards with wonderful things. It was awesome.
Oh, that's I'm
Yeah.
stealing that idea to
Great
somebody.
Yeah.
idea.
That's
Yeah,
great.
stealing it.
What's a daily routine or ritual that you stick to?
Walking.
Hmm. And what fashion trend did you jump on? Any time
Uh,
period.
I'm boho, always.
Comfortable, right?
Yep.
Love
It's
it.
comfortable.
Uh,
Now, Lorraine, that wasn't painful, was it?
no, it was
That's
not. I
it.
had a
Hey,
wonderful time. Yes, I want to come back.
yes, Lorraine, we would love to have you
Please,
back because I have
please.
a feeling
Yes.
that people are going to be asking some questions. So I think you're going to be a recurring guest before this is over with.
Absolutely. I've learned so much from you already. Thank you
Aw,
so much.
thanks. Oh,
And
this has been a pleasure.
we would love for you to be our menopause expert. And anytime questions come up,
Oh, would love
you're the
it.
go-to.
I would
That's
love
right.
it. Love it.
Fantastic. Awesome, Lorraine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's grab a really fun question out of the You Don't Know My Life box.
You Don't Know My Life, a game that you can play. We'll have it if you're watching on YouTube. We'll have the link below. What movie did you see when you were way too young to see it, Jen Hobby?
Oh, I think it was called Bachelor Party.
Tom Hanks.
Yes. My next door neighbor had an older brother who had a copy on VHS of
Yep.
Bachelor Party. And I would have sleepovers at her house and we would sneak into her older brother's room and steal his copy of Bachelor Party and watch it. I don't
Mhm.
even remember what the movie's about. I just remember we weren't supposed to watch it.
It had who was the woman in the White Snake videos that crawled on the hood of the car? She just recently
Oh,
passed away too,
was
by
her
the
name
way.
Diana something? I think I
Uh,
know I can picture who you're talking about.
yeah, so she was
She was the
Tom
actress.
Hanks's fiance in that.
Oh,
So she was in that. For me, it was a movie called A Night in Heaven. Okay. I don't think anybody remembers this movie, but you remember the song from it. So I was 13 and we at Shady Brook Mall was the name of our mall, and Shady Brook Cinema was the movie theater. And me and some friends went into Shady Brook Mall and went
that
into
sounds
the
like an
theater
after-school special.
because that's right, because it was the 80s and we had everything, our Madonna stuff off. And when we go over there, and so we went into the movie, we wanted to see this because it had Christopher Atkins in it, who was from Blue Lagoon. And I, of course, my friends were interested in him. I was more interested in Brooke Shields in that movie. But here it was Chris Atkins, and Leslie Ann Warren was in it. It's an actress that you've probably seen everywhere, but you don't maybe remember her name. Anyway, she played his college professor, and he was a stripper at night, and she happened to go see him strip, and then they had an affair. Anyway, but
Hey.
we were too young to go into the theater. Our Shady Brook Mall Cinema took this seriously, and so we had to call our parents. And the manager had to ask each of our parents if we were allowed to go into this theater. I mean, that small town Columbia took it
Yeah.
seriously. And my mother laughed, like, okay, yeah, I guess you can go in. And so we went in,
Hilarious.
and it was very sexual. But the reason I say about the song, so Bryan Adams' song Heaven is actually from that movie.
Okay, sing it.
I can't sing.
Come
You
on.
I
What's the
can't
tune?
do it. I
At
can't do
least hum the tune.
uh,
Bryan Adams' Heaven. Hold on.
yeah,
hold on.
because remember Bryan Adams, really raspy 80s singer.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. He did all the yes. I know who you're talking about.
I can't sing. You just have to look up the song. But yeah, so it was a one of his hits. But Heaven is the name of the strip club. So the movie's called A Night in Heaven. So Bryan Adams' song is about a strip club.
Hold on.
Jen's
Can
looking
you
it up.
hear it?
A little bit.
Okay, hang on. One Night Love Affair. Bryan Adams.
Oh,
Okay,
Heaven.
Heaven. Hold on. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes.
Yes, I know this song.
That's from the movie A Night in Heaven that I was way too young to go see.
Oh yeah, this is like long distance dedication stuff.
Yeah, but it's about a strip
Right?
club. That's what that that's how it was about a strip club. Anyway,
Awesome. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that's great. That takes you right back to being a kid. That is awesome. I love that you had to get your parents' permission and
Yes,
you
they
could sneak in.
called. They called and they and I just remember my mother laughing like, I trust my daughter, so yeah, she can go in to see this. There's 3 of us. And we all went in there and I do remember having some kind of, it's puberty time. And I remember
That's
having some kind of reaction
a
to their
thrill.
shower scene. I will tell
Totally.
you that.
But not the guy.
Not the guy knows more about Leslie Ann Warren, that's for sure. Jenn has this week's mirror mantra.
This is what you're going to say in the mirror this week. I will honor my body in menopause as I honored my cycle when it began. Because it is about honoring yourself, right? Let's not have that negative self talk about this time of life. This is a great time of life. This is a time to be celebrated, a time to make the changes that we heard Lorraine share with us and talk about so that we can feel our very best and honor your body and all that it's done in your life, right? This
Yeah.
vessel is what's carried you through. For some of you, it's carried children. For some of you, it's gotten you through all kinds of different health crises. It's helped your family. This body has been awesome to you. So let's honor our bodies in menopause as we honored them when we started our cycles. Even if you were a late bloomer like me, not starting your cycle till you were 14, you were
Well,
excited when it happened because
if
you
you
felt
think you're
like you were in a club,
Yeah.
right? You felt like, I did because I was so late bloomer, but I was like, I finally made it
Yeah.
into this club. And that's how we should also feel about menopause. If you've reached the club or you're entering the club, let's celebrate it and honor your body.
I was just jumping in because I find it ironic that you'd be the late bloomer for your period and you're the early bloomer potentially for menopause.
You know what?
Huh.
Everybody's different,
That's right. But
right?
you're exactly right. Like even when you went through cramps, because I know my cramps were worse in the beginning, and then maybe I took care of it or my body took care of it, but I didn't have bad cramps as an adult. And so I just remember you went through your cramps like it was a badge of honor, like you're getting used to it. It's something that's a part of something that, like you said, you're part of the club now. You're a woman now because you have your period. Well, the same with hot flashes, the same with weight gain. I think the weight gain for a lot of women is the thing that they are having the hardest time with. But again, it's like you said, you got to honor your body, whatever your body needs to do in order to get through this, and whatever you
Mhm.
need to do to balance that out. But you're exactly right. Your body has now done. I mean, think about this. It's done its job on part of your life. So the uniqueness about being female is the fact that we have the ability to bear children potentially. Some don't, some choose not to, but the theory of being a woman is what makes you a woman is the fact that you can bear and give birth to children, right? And that part of your life is now done. So there should also be a thank you to your body, especially if you were able to become a mother because of your body. Even if you weren't, it's just this, okay, thank you for that time of my life that is now done, right? It's like you've crossed a finish line. And I guarantee you, we've talked about this on the show before, but if if Gloria Steinem's article, if you've not read it about if men had menopause, I mean not menopause, I'm sorry, if men had periods, she
Mhm.
wrote a wonderful, funny article if men had periods because they would brag about how much blood they had come out. They would have made a competition,
There'd
and
be
I
a national holiday, and all
would
of
be a
us would
national
take a day off work.
Yes. So, I mean, as much as we make fun of men for being so self-indulgent, there is a gift in that we could learn from. And if men had menopause and they were done with a part of their life that was potentially uncomfortable or potentially painful, because if not being able to have children or not, and having a painful cramps or whatever it is now over, and that part of your life is done and you don't feel the pressure of that anymore. I mean, if men had you're exactly right. There'd be a competition. There would be some kind of celebration. There would be an just
There'd
egoist
be
kind of mentality
there'd be
about
high
it.
fives, there'd be parties, there'd be shots.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. On company time. But so you should take a page out of their book and celebrate yourself. So I absolutely agree. I will honor my body in menopause. Absolutely.
Is there a friend of yours that needs to hear this episode or would just enjoy the conversation with you? You can share this with her. Plus, we'd love for you to check out our brand new YouTube channel with videos and extended interviews. So if you've enjoyed the interviews on the podcast, and you want to go check out the longer version, they're right there on youtube.com. Just search The Friendzy.
And you get to see what our guests look like, and you get to see what we look like. Please sign up for our weekly email. We will send the episode right to your inbox, make it very easy for you. We'll include links to things we discuss, give you some deeper insights to these topics. All you got to do is go to thefriendzy.com and sign up today.
And we want to shout out our listeners who have already subscribed to our email list. Most recently, we want to say thank you to Erica Jackson, Ingrid Donahoe, and Natalie Stegall. Thank you so much, ladies.
The Friendzy is hosted and produced by me, Melissa Carter, and her, Jenn Hobby.
Sound editing produced by Bo Johnson.
Original soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, written and recorded by Mark Daniels.
These are real stories connecting real women. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We love you.
And your menopause. And until next week,
trust your gut,
share your story, and stop lying about your age. We'll see you next time. That might have been
our best one yet.
Is it?
I
Good.
think so.
I've lost track. What day is it? We'll see you next time.